My girlfriend Sophia's ex-boyfriend David returned to his country and insisted that I take her to his welcoming party. At the banquet, someone asked Sophia, "Sophia, is there anyone you like here?" Sophia pursed her lips and smiled, and gently uttered one word, "Yes." However, when she said this, her eyes were not looking at me, but at David. The story is about to begin. If you like it, remember to like and subscribe. Recalling that not long ago, Sophia said that a few friends had returned from abroad and asked me to drive her to a welcoming party. When we arrived, I realized that it was a welcoming party for her ex-boyfriend. David was wearing a gray coat and a warm scarf, looking steady and reserved. Sophia's eyes lit up when she saw him. At the dinner table, Emily, who loves to watch the fun, asked David, "David, you have been abroad for so many years, do you have a girlfriend?" The man was stunned for a moment, and replied with a slightly bitter tone, "Once you have seen the sea, you will never be impressed by the water." After that, he glanced at Sophia, smiled faintly, and lowered his head. I frowned and wanted to put my arm around Sophia's shoulders, but she pushed me away calmly. Sophia said calmly, "I'm going to the bathroom, my throat is a little dry." I couldn't help but wonder, did she not want to show intimacy with me in front of David, or did she dare not? The atmosphere was lively. After a while, David came over with a smile and asked to add my contact information, saying, "I heard Sophia mention you. You are a good person." I was confused. Although I don't have the habit of looking at my girlfriend's phone, his words seemed to imply that they have never lost contact. I frowned and unconsciously clenched my fists. I glanced at Sophia absent-mindedly and happened to meet her eyes, but I knew she was not looking at me. David generously linked arms with me and talked about their interesting college experiences. For a moment, I even laughed at myself for making a big deal out of nothing. Maybe they were just classmates. Never mind, I went to the bathroom. While I was in the bathroom, I clicked on David's moments. His background was a photo of a single person at the beach. My heart skipped a beat and I immediately opened Sophia's. It was the same scene, the same position, and it was obviously a couple's photo. Then, I heard the conversation between Sophia's best friends. Emily said, "I'm not saying anything, David is emotionally stable and good-tempered, and he knows how to care for others. You two know each other very well, unlike James, who is chauvinistic, selfish, and even refuses to hand over his salary card. Isn't the dream of us women to marry a husband who understands people's hearts?" Emma echoed, "What's more, he hasn't had a new girlfriend for 3 years since he went abroad. He's waiting for you. He just rushed to pay the bill. Look at James, he's just eating, he doesn't have any sense at all." Mia nodded and said, "I have a say in this. We went abroad together, and he was frowning every day, staring at your photos in a daze, and asked me not to tell you, for fear of disturbing your life, as long as you are happy." Mia paused, and continued, "I can't stand it anymore. You 4 years of relationship, it's not like you can break up just like that. Here, while James is not here, this is the bag he bought for you abroad." They didn't know that the bathroom and the private room was not soundproof. When I came out, they exchanged glances and started talking about other topics. I crossed my legs and watched the show in silence. David sang several sad love songs in a row. Especially when he sang Guest, he looked at Sophia without hesitation and said, "Thank you for your special invitation to witness your love." I saw the disappointment and regret flashing in his eyes. Sophia was so flustered by his gaze that she quickly went to find a wineglass to cover up her guilty conscience. I hid in the corner, laughing secretly in my heart. I haven't seen such a good show for many years. In the second half, everyone suggested playing games. At first, they were all right, but later, whether intentionally or unintentionally, Sophia kept losing. One of the questions was, "Have you ever regretted breaking up?" Sophia paused and looked at me unnaturally, but I kept smiling politely. She stammered, "No. No." I saw David's hand trembling a little when holding the cup, and his emotions were seen by Sophia. Until the last question, "Is there anyone you like at the scene?" Sophia replied with one word, "Yes." But her eyes were looking at David, as if to make up for the disappointment brought to him by the previous question. I nodded, stood up, and said word for word, "Fuck." I hadn't left yet, and the two of them were flirting in front of me. I'm not the wronged one in the abuse novel, why should I be generous? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I slapped Sophia in the face and cursed, "Shit." Then I stood up, wiped my hands, looked around and said, "I really don't understand the train of thought of you single-celled organisms. You match people who have boyfriends with their ex-boyfriends. You all dress up in fancy clothes, but can't you do something human?" I looked at Emily and said, "I'm a male chauvinist, what can you do? What does it have to do with you if I don't pay my salary card? You're not a good person. You just think about how to PUA others every day. Now that garbage classification is implemented, you should be more conscious and go where you should go, okay? Then it was Emma. I sneered and said, don't worry, I just love to eat and can eat. I have a good appetite. Next time I go to your banquet, I will sit at the children's table and celebrate with them why some people can't see tomorrow's sun at such a young age. Oh, it turns out that her tongue is too long, and the king of hell can't bear to let her wander around the world. Finally, it was Mia's turn. I said, you can't sing because you are tone deaf. You can't talk because you are mentally ill. You like to help people pass things on. If you don't run errands, you are wasting your talent. Finally, I looked at Sophia and said, break up. Stop talking nonsense. Emily's face turned blue with anger, and she yelled, what are you barking about? I smiled slightly. It's the first time I've seen so many poops, I'm so excited. When they were about to leave, David grabbed my arm and tried to smooth things over. Brother, there's really nothing going on between Sophia and me, please don't be like this. We just haven't seen each other for such a long time and want to get together. If I've made you unhappy, I'll leave now. I asked in a cold voice, don't talk nonsense. You came even though you knew I was unhappy. What were you planning? David's face turned pale and he apologized, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I just. After that, he looked at Sophia with an apologetic look. I grabbed his collar and said, I'm asking you a question. Why are you looking at her? Does she have the answer written on her face? Sophia stood up as if she had stepped on her tail, bit her lip and said, James, why are you bullying me like this? Do you think David is easy to bully? You're going too far. Seeing this, others also started to chime in. Emma said, it's speechless. We shouldn't have agreed when you pursued Sophia. Who do you think you are? Emily said, yes, we just like David more. People like you are destined to be alone. Mia snorted coldly, call the police if you don't agree. David is more gentle and generous than you. You are just jealous. I smiled contemptuously and looked at everyone. Emma, if you are speechless, go learn sign language. Are you waiting for your father to teach you? Sophia calls you mom, whether she agrees or not is none of my business. Does she have to report to you even when she pees? Emily, you are really like a dung beetle sneezing, your mouth is full of feces. You know your father is right, so hurry up and take notes. You don't need to worry about whether I am destined to be alone. I am worried whether you can withstand being beaten for talking like that. Mia, you know him so well, I am afraid you have been with him day and night and have experienced it personally, right? The world is big, but it is not bigger than the peace of mind you lack. Besides, I can't call the police because I have to find the dog-catching team to arrest you. Promise me, when someone treats you as human beings in the future, please try to pretend to be human, okay? Finally, I looked at Sophia. She was obviously a little confused. I smiled slightly. Sophia, the grass is greener on the other side. What's the matter? You want to play the game of having your fill and your eyes on the pot? Who the hell do you think you are? After that, I walked away. As a result, Sophia followed me out, looking pitiful. James, it's all my fault. At that time, everyone just said that Mia and him hadn't seen each other for a long time after returning to China, so they came together. I didn't expect it to turn out like this today. She wiped her wet hair, her beautiful face full of grievances. I apologize, can you not be angry? I asked, then what did you mean by looking at him just now? Sophia paused for a few seconds. Maybe we haven't seen each other for too long. After all, we are still in the same circle and don't want to make things too awkward. I sneered. Sophia, the background picture in your phone is a couple photo of him and you, right? Sophia paused, and quickly glanced at David who had just come out. It's not what you think, I just forgot to change it. Then she quickly opened her phone and quickly changed the background to a photo of her and me. I stared at her for a few seconds. She lowered her head guiltily, and said vaguely, James, I broke up with him for 3 years, and I really don't have any feelings anymore. Do you believe me? Can we not break up? Let's go home. I keep my word. If I say we're going to break up, we're going to break up. Before I could say anything, David came running over and apologized sincerely. It's all my fault. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't have disturbed your happiness. I just wanted to see her again. I was speechless. So, should I fulfill your wish? His eyes were flustered, and he coughed twice and said, I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. I'll leave now. Don't quarrel because of me. But the next second after he turned around, he almost fell down. Sophia hurriedly held his arm. Why did you drink so much? Don't you know you're allergic to alcohol? Her tone was full of worry. David was holding her arm, looking at her affectionately. I was just too happy and didn't notice it. I folded my arms and looked at them. Sophia pursed her lips and explained to me, James, David is allergic to alcohol. He may be in danger if he is drunk. Can I go home with him? I was full of question marks. What do you think? The next second, David mumbled, why is it so itchy? He tugged at his collar, and a large patch of skin on his neck turned red. Sophia looked worried. Don't scratch it, it will get scratched. I stared at Sophia. Sophia, are you sure you want to go with him? She shook my arm and said coquettishly, James, I will come home to find you after I accompany him back. He may need to go to the hospital in this condition. I replied, okay. I walked around them, and when I passed by, I saw a glimmer of pride in David's eyes. Later I saw his circle of friends, and he wrote, in this cold night, I'm glad you are here. The picture was a woman's back in the kitchen. That was of course Sophia. Sophia and I met at work. She has a gentle personality, outstanding looks, and an excellent figure. To put it bluntly, I was just greedy for her body, so I went straight to the offensive. After a series of chance encounters and romantic surprises, I successfully pursued her, and we dated for a year. I knew she had a boyfriend for 4 years, but she said that he had been abroad for many years and would not come back, so I didn't take it seriously. Now I think that their breakup was not due to subjective lack of love, but the objective reason of being in different places. Thinking of David's protesting circle of friends, my nails dug into my palms. I have been a street bully since I was a child, and I would take revenge on the spot. But I didn't expect that this ex-boyfriend would be so shady. This touched my blind spot in knowledge, and I had to think about it carefully. Sophia sent me a message, honey, it's raining tonight and you didn't bring an umbrella, right? I'll come to see you after get off work and then go to your house tonight, okay? I was about to refuse when the team leader introduced the newcomer. I looked up and saw that it was David. Things were getting interesting. I deleted the words in the dialogue box and replied with one word, okay. I wanted to see how he wanted to play. After the introduction, David walked straight to me and said sincerely, James, what a coincidence. Please give me your guidance in the future. He was still gentle and polite, but I knew that this was no coincidence, proving that he and Sophia must have been in contact. How long did it start? I stared at Sophia's profile picture and began to recall. David didn't drink at the newlyweds party. I bumped into him when I went to the bathroom. He smiled and washed his hands and said, I'm sorry, James. Sophia came to my house yesterday. Are you angry? The apology could not cover up the pride in his tone. I laughed and said, why should I be angry? I'm not a trash can that recycles all garbage. His smile froze on his face, but he quickly adjusted his mood. As he walked past me, he said lightly, I have been with her for 4 years. Do you think a relationship of 1 year can compare? I really don't understand his train of thought. Who wants to compete with him for trash? Isn't it nice to throw it away and find the next girl? He said, if I have something to do, she will definitely come to me first. James, be sensible and don't argue with me. I laughed, brother, you are really a trash can. You are so good at pretending. You look like a QR code. You don't know what you are without scanning it. David's face turned green with anger. After dinner, it started to rain heavily. I saw Sophia holding an umbrella at the door. When she saw me coming out, she walked towards me happily, but she paused when David came out. She deliberately didn't say hello to David, walked straight to me, took my arm and handed me the umbrella, saying, James, let's go. I didn't take it, and took out my own umbrella. I brought an umbrella. She saw my action and her body stiffened. Sophia was not angry, and still said softly, James is still thoughtful. In such heavy rain, 2 people will get wet with an umbrella. A colleague passing by asked David, didn't you bring an umbrella? He hummed lightly. At this moment, there was a thunder, and David sighed, it's so unlucky, it seems I have to go back in the rain. I clearly caught Sophia holding the umbrella tightly. I pretended not to care and looked at her, let's go. She hummed, looked at the heavy rain outside with a wandering look, and murmured, this rain, I'm afraid it will rain all night. I understood what she meant by this, she was worried about David who didn't have an umbrella. I couldn't get a taxi and it was raining. I calmly opened my umbrella and walked into the rain. From the corner of my eye, I saw David frowning and looking at Sophia with a miserable face. Soon, Sophia appeared beside me, but pretended not to see anything and whispered, let's go home. When we arrived at the subway entrance, her phone screen lit up, her eyes darkened, and her expression was full of worry. I smiled and asked her, is your bestie looking for you? When I asked her, she came back to her senses and said him unnaturally, but she looked absent-mindedly at the heavy rain outside the station. I asked, Sophia, are you sure you want to go to my house now? She said, of course. I chuckled and deliberately asked, are you worried about David who doesn't have an umbrella? She pursed her lips and said, "Of course not, please don't think about me like that. I won't contact him." After that, she wanted to get into my arms. As usual, I stretched out my hand to keep a safe distance, and said nonchalantly, "Okay, I believe you. But if I find out that you lied to me, Sophia, it won't be as simple as a good breakup." She paused, raised her eyes to look at me, and snorted coldly, "I won't." I hummed and pretended to be generous. "How about we go back our separate ways today? The rain is too heavy and my house is far away, don't catch a cold. And I've run out of that thing, it's not convenient to buy it, so let's not bother. It just so happens that I have some work to do today, so it might be late." Her house is in the opposite direction of mine. She hesitated for a long time before looking at me cautiously. "Then I'll go back first?" I nodded. Seeing that I didn't insist, she walked in the opposite direction, but I followed her. After leaving the station, I saw her holding an umbrella and quickly disappearing in the rain. 3 times is the limit. This is the second time she lied to me. My face hurts so much that the blood of revenge is flowing in my body. "Sophia, I gave you a decent chance. Don't blame me next time." As expected, I received a private message from David. I said if I have any problems, she will appear in front of me immediately. "You lose." He quickly withdrew it. I almost crushed my phone. It's not that I like Sophia so much, but someone dared to touch me. I really don't think my life is long enough. I made a phone call, and soon, a Bentley stopped in front of me. I opened the back seat and got in, and told the driver the address. The car drove into the main road, and the woman next to me snorted coldly, "Why did you make yourself so embarrassed?" I frowned. "Don't talk nonsense." Olivia said jokingly, "Did you have a fight with your girlfriend?" I didn't say anything. I was dating Sophia and concealed my identity information, just wanting to have a simple relationship. What's more, my relationship with my father is not very good, and I don't want to talk about these things. I closed my eyes in the car and thought whether to scold them back home or find a place where no one was around to beat them up. But Olivia kept making so much noise that it hurt my ears. I said, "Olivia, you can't find a boyfriend because you talk too much." I opened my eyes and looked at her. She was not angry, but smiled. "Is this how you treat your benefactor? You called me out in the middle of the night. I tell you, you have to pay more." I was impressed by her. "You are a rich lady, why do you care so much about this little money?" She said in a pinched voice, "Isn't she going to get married? I have to learn how to manage the household." I shuddered and talked about business. "I just want to see what other tricks he wants to play. In addition, how is the matter he asked you to do?" She said, "Don't worry, Mr. James, all the information will be sent to your email in the next few days." I nodded, "Especially the IP address of Mia, pay special attention to it." Then I opened my phone and posted a circle of friends saying stay away from garbage. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Olivia came over again and squinted her eyes. "What's the matter? Mr. James is angry." I was speechless. Angry? Would I be angry because of a woman? She rolled her eyes and said, "But your face is full of unhappiness." I scolded, "Bullshit. I'm just thinking about how to catch them all in one fell swoop." Olivia chuckled, "Then if you need it, you can find me, I like to join in the fun the most." I was speechless. When getting off the car, Olivia called me again. I turned around and said helplessly, "What's wrong?" She blinked and asked, "Does the last time we agreed still count?" I ran away immediately, and Olivia sent a message saying, "Coward." In the past few days, Sophia has been sending me messages to show her pity, but I deleted them one by one. She came to see me when I was off work, but I ignored her and got in my car and left. A week later, Sophia finally stopped me when I was about to get in the car and asked, "James, what do you mean?" I opened the car door, looked at her and said, "Don't you know what breaking up means? It means that we have no relationship now. You know, it's really hard to talk to you." Sophia's eyes were red and she said, "I didn't agree." She said, "Besides, I can explain." Sophia continued in a trembling voice, "After that day, I haven't contacted him again." I sneered and said, "Which day?" Sophia's expression flashed a trace of embarrassment, and she bit her lip and said, "On the day when it rained heavily." He is quite ambiguous, but even though I deleted David that night, he still sent me a message. David sent a message mockingly. "I heard she said that you haven't done it without safety measures yet." I was so angry that I got up and punched a sandbag all night. And from the clues in David's circle of friends, I checked his social account and found out that they had never broken off contact. At this moment, David went over and grabbed Sophia and said, "Why are you still looking for him? Look at him, he has even learned how to rent luxury cars to pick up girls. This kind of person is not worth you." I looked at Sophia and sneered, "He's right. Look at how worthless you are." David was speechless. He was stunned for a moment and then said, "I told you, James is a scumbag. Now you should believe it." Sophia held my hand and refused to let go. She said dissatisfiedly, "James, is what he said true? Are you really with someone else so soon?" I said expressionlessly, "Why, do I need to report to you?" "No, Sophia, what's wrong with your brain? You've been to another man's house and you're telling me this. Are you playing double standards?" She explained in panic, "We are just classmates." I smiled, "Yes, the person in the car and I are also classmates." "You can go to a classmate's house, but I can't?" Sophia showed a painful look. She said, "James, you still love me, right? You are looking for women just to make me jealous, right?" Hearing this, David's face turned pale. I sneered and asked Sophia, "Do you want to listen to what you are saying?" The next second, Olivia came out with her long legs stretched out. Compared with Olivia, Sophia was the one who was crushed in both appearance and temperament. I heard Sophia's trembling voice, "Ms. Olivia." When I got in the car, I still heard David's sarcasm. He said, "Well, was I right? People like James rent luxury cars, buy fake bags, and use sweet talk to defraud countless rich daughters. Now you believe it." I rolled up the window, and Olivia asked puzzledly, "Why don't you slap them?" I was speechless, and I said, "You have to hit the snake at its most vulnerable point. You have to win with one move and not give it any chance to make a comeback." Olivia asked, "Is it worth it? Making such a big fuss for them?" I didn't say anything, just looked out the window quietly, thinking of the past. When I was a child, my father asked my mother to quit her stable job and learn from others to start a business, and sent me to live with my uncle. But my aunt didn't like me, so I took on all the housework and took care of my younger brothers and sisters. My father would send enough living expenses back every month, but my aunt would always deliberately tease me in front of everyone, saying that I ate too much and that the money my parents gave me was not enough at all given the current prices. They only kept me because they felt sorry for me. I still remember the embarrassment of being roasted on both sides of the fire. Later, she falsely accused me of stealing her money and made me kneel in the lobby, letting passers-by point fingers at me and make me surrender. At that time, I was 8 years old. After that, I started living alone, but I was a person who would never give up even a tiny bit of money. Later, I found out that she had cheated on me, and I spent a long time planning a big drama to expose her affair to the whole village. She was afraid of what people said, and she could no longer hold her head up in the village. After divorcing my uncle, she returned to her parents' home. So, I knew that if I didn't hit the most critical point, it would be better not to do it. I said, "It's not the right time yet, wait a little longer." Olivia looked at me dimly and said, "Then I'll wait and see your good show." I didn't say anything, just quietly waiting for the fish to take the bait. Sophia still called me every day and went crazy, and the most straightforward thing was that David confronted me every day at work. Until one day, Sophia got drunk with her girlfriends in the bar, and Emily called me. She said, "James, you are a grown man, can you not be so petty? We all apologize to you, okay? Come and comfort her. She is very sad. If she continues to drink like this, something bad will happen." I listened to the noisy voices over there and keenly caught David's sneer. I said calmly, "If she dies, just call the crematorium." The little fairy didn't even pretend, and started to scold me directly. She scolded, "James, I advise you not to be ungrateful and do things so ruthlessly, otherwise you will suffer retribution." I played with the watch I just bought and sneered, "Emily, thank you for your advice. Then I really have to be more ruthless. I heard that you were getting engaged recently, right?" I hung up because I knew that someone was about to lose control. Sure enough, the next day when I arrived at the company, Mark next to me stopped me and said, "Mr. James, have you offended anyone?" I asked, "What's wrong?" He said, "Hey, someone on the employee forum revealed some bad things about you. Why don't you go home and rest today?" I turned on my phone and the title that caught my eye was, "Be careful of being cheated of money and sex. Emotional scammers rent luxury cars and pretend to be rich to pick up girls, and even old ladies are not spared." He also took a lot of photos of me, which were nothing more than photos of Olivia, photos of cars, and high-definition photos of my father's secretary accompanying me to buy watches and suits. He also forged some transfer records. I forgot to mention that the company I work for is owned by my father. I went out to eat with him a few times before, of course, I just wanted to use him. All of these were posted by David in a short and emotional essay, saying that I was shameless and vulgar, looking for a mistress and hanging out with a rich woman, and corrupting morality. Just then, Sophia sent me the link to the Twitter account and said, "James, I misjudged you. You make me feel sick." I looked and saw that it had been forwarded by more than 500 people. This was a coincidence. I quickly sent the link to Olivia and said, check the IP address, please do it quickly. Then I locked the screen and went into the office with Mark. I didn't expect that he would dare to come in as if nothing had happened. David, with a triumphant attitude, mocked me in the tea room without any hesitation. Very good, I have prepared the gift for him. As soon as I sat down, he came over and said, I've taught you to be more tactful. I pressed the record button and asked with a silly look on my face, you posted all the things on the forum, right? He was still on guard and didn't answer. I was not in a hurry, and then I opened Sophia's WeChat, and unfortunately a voice message was played, husband, listen to my explanation. David and I really have nothing to do with each other. I don't like him at all. He is a bootlicker. I never look at him straight in the eye. And I heard that his circle abroad is very chaotic, with both men and women. How can I like such a man? From the corner of my eye, I saw that his hands were clenched with blue veins. I also want to thank Sophia for sending me the message at that time, which allowed me to accurately find all his shameful deeds. I secretly sighed and said, you're such a loser, you're just a bootlicker. He was so angry that he said harshly, you won't be able to be proud for many days. I laughed, wondering who would be unable to be proud for many days. The next second, my dad brought a group of people into the company. My dad doesn't come to this company often, but today he brought Olivia with him. His face was so angry that it almost turned black. The whole office was in a low pressure, and everyone was waiting to see my good show. My dad directly convened an emergency meeting for all employees. Mark held me down and said, brother, don't go yet. I asked, why not? Not only do I want to go, but I have more exciting things packed for my dad's secretary. I was sitting in the first row at the conference. Olivia pouted and shook her head at me. There was a message from her on my phone. She said, you should have taken action earlier. I know that Olivia felt that I was slow to act, which caused my reputation to be affected and was not worth it. I should have taken the initiative first, which would be in my best interest. But I know that the darkness in some people's hearts is far more terrible than I thought. If I just let them go without doing anything, it would not achieve the final effect. Everyone has something they care about and cannot lose, and what I have to do is to destroy it all and eradicate it. David thought he had won the game, and he sat up straight with his eyes in the sky. But the next second, my dad said, I'll be frank with you. Then he pointed at me and said, James is my son. Everyone was confused. David, who was so arrogant just now, lost his momentum in an instant and his face turned pale. You see, when people are provoked, they will lose their composure. Anyone with a brain would know to check my situation, even though he couldn't find anything even if he wanted to. Then my dad continued, my son has been engaged to Olivia's family before. What the hell? This is not in my plan. I looked at Olivia, and she tilted her head and smiled at me. I was speechless. Olivia was pretending to be my fiancée to help me clarify the rumors. I don't know why, but a strange emotion crawled through my heart. The content of the post was explained in just a few words. I walked onto the stage, looked at the policeman who pushed the door open, and smiled at David who was shaking all over in the audience. David, you will be held legally responsible for spreading rumors. Do you think there are no police in our country? No laws? Under the gaze of everyone, David was taken away by the police with a pale face. I also wanted to give him a taste of his own medicine. I asked my secretary to find a few writers to publish some of the information online to clarify the matter, and to mail the rest to his parents and Sophia and me as parents. The secretary asked me, should we send it now? I shook my head, thought for a moment, and said, the story isn't over yet, let's wait a little longer. I heard that his parents are teachers. I wonder what they would think if they knew about the dirty things their son did abroad. I went to the police station to take a statement. The IP addresses that were used to defame me were from abroad. David did not do it directly because he asked Mia for help. As early as the first time we met, I could see that the atmosphere between them was too ambiguous. After all, they were just classmates. Who would be so close to their best friend's boyfriend, knowing all his affairs and speaking for him? If Mia wasn't ugly, she would have been promoted long ago. So, I asked Olivia to help me check Mia's affairs. After checking, it was no wonder that he defamed me so much, because that's what he did. David's reputation abroad was stinking. He was not doing his job abroad. He pretended to be a successful person to deceive the female students who had just arrived, cheating them of money and sex, and even ran away after getting them pregnant. However, evil will be punished by evil. He was caught by the gangster boss who couldn't stand it and his legs were broken. He was exposed to the Chinese group. So, David, who finally couldn't make it abroad, ran back to China in disgrace and came to find his ex-girlfriend Sophia to rekindle their relationship. In the police station, David yelled, "James, you bastard." I shrugged and said indifferently, "You think you are very smart, right? If I like Sophia so much, I would have lost my composure. Unfortunately, I am not a bootlicker. I don't like her that much." David looked at the police and said with a trembling mouth, "I didn't make up the rumor. You wronged me." Mia had surrendered long ago and gave the police all the chat records and recordings of the two. Even though David didn't do it himself, he was the mastermind behind it. I said to Mia, "Mia, didn't you ask me to call the police when we were at the party that day?" "As you wish." In the end, I did not support mediation. Mia and David were detained for defamation, and then I asked them to apologize to me online until I was satisfied. With a criminal record, Mia lost her job, and David was fired by my dad's company, which reserved the right to pursue legal responsibility. After he was released, Olivia asked me, "You could have fired them a long time ago, why did you let them publish those things?" I laughed and said, "You have to pay him compensation after firing him. I won't give him a penny more." She snorted and said, "You are such a black-hearted capitalist." After I got back, my dad was sitting on the sofa waiting for me. "Son." I didn't say anything and walked over to sit down. He wanted to come over and pull me, but I pushed him away. He paused, lowered his head and sighed, "You should have told Dad earlier." I replied, "Dad is so busy, how can he have time to care about my affairs?" He said, "You are my son, how can Dad let you suffer this loss?" I looked away unnaturally. In fact, I haven't sat down and chatted with him like this for a long time. The previous few times, I just took advantage of him. Seeing that I didn't say anything, he continued to talk to himself, "I know you haven't forgiven Dad yet, but Dad only has you in this world. Everything Dad does is for you. If you are not happy, what's the use of Dad having these things?" I have a bad temper, don't like to talk, and always exude a kind of indifference that keeps strangers away, but because of his words, my nose unconsciously felt a little sour. He paused and continued, "Dad is also very regretful about your mother's matter, and I miss her too." I asked, "You miss her, then have you visited her in all these years?" I finally couldn't help it, tears shed, and looked at him angrily and said, "She was supposed to come to the parent-teacher meeting for me, but you called her to deliver materials at the last minute, and she got into a car accident. If you hadn't asked her to go, she would definitely still be alive now." After being scolded by me, he showed a sad expression, and said with a little red eyes, "I'm sorry." I gritted my teeth and said, "I'm sorry, I won't let my mother come back to life." I threw down these words, got up and went back to my room, and slammed the door. Life was peaceful for only a few days, until the day David and Mia came out. Sophia called me for the first time and said, "James, let's talk." I asked, "What to talk about?" She said, "My girlfriends want to apologize to you." I laughed and said, "If apologies were useful, why would we need the police?" Her group of girlfriends probably knew about the two people and were a little scared and wanted to please me, but it was too late. Sophia was silent for a long while before she spoke in a low voice, "I'm sorry, James, I hurt you, it has nothing to do with others. But you lied to me, and you concealed from me that you were a rich second generation, and I didn't pursue it with you." I was speechless and said, "So, the meaning of your call is to settle the score with me, right?" Sophia didn't say anything, but I could hear her voice was very dry. She said, "You lied to me first, and then I lied to you, and we're done. But the others are all my good classmates and best friends. There is no need for them to have to live unbearably because of what happened between us two." I asked, "Well, what do you want to say?" Sophia continued, "They want to have dinner with you and apologize in person. From now on, you go your way and we go our way, okay?" I replied, "Of course, send me the time and address." Before I went to settle accounts with other people, they were already getting impatient, so I decided to deal with them all at once, saving me the trouble of looking for them one by one. Before leaving, Olivia called me and said that this was a hangman banquet, and since they hated me so much, they would definitely do something naughty. I said speechlessly, "It doesn't matter, I just want to see how they are going to do something naughty." But Olivia sighed and said, "Then you have to keep talking to me, I'm ready to call an ambulance at any time." I said speechlessly, "Don't worry about me, have you forgotten that I'm a Sanda master?" Olivia replied, "I'm not worried about you, I'm worried about them, please be gentle." I chuckled and said, "Don't worry, you won't die." When I arrived, all 5 of them were there. After all, a family should be neat and tidy. When they saw me coming, they stood up cautiously to greet me. I took a long step and sat down near the door. I crossed my arms and looked at them and said, "Tell me how to apologize." Sophia stood up reluctantly and said, "James, I'm sorry. I admit that I hurt you and shouldn't have trampled on your love for me." I was speechless. What the hell, who loves her? I just wanted her body. Sophia continued, "You also made me lose my job. We should be even now. I looked over and saw that it was because of losing my job. Sophia works for the Olivia family group. If I hadn't gone to see Olivia before, Sophia and I would never have met. I pricked up my ears to see what else she wanted to say. Seeing that I didn't say anything, she pursed her lips and said, "But you were with me when you were unclear with Olivia. I was also a victim. We won't talk about all these. You rich people like to play with women's feelings. I can only admit it. We can never see each other again in the future." I smiled and said, "Okay, next one." I tapped the water glass. Emily stood up without even glancing at me. She said she was apologizing, but her tone was still contemptuous. She snorted and said, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have stood up for my best friend." From what she said, it seemed like I was a villain who was destroying their friendship. She said, "I will stay away from young masters like you in the future. Please forgive me, as you are a great man and don't bear grudges." I didn't say anything, so she sat down. They were like elementary school students, one after another stood up to apologize, but they still didn't forget to talk about me, which was extremely childish. Emma said, "I shouldn't have said you were poor, I was blind." Mia said, "I shouldn't have persuaded Sophia to break up with you." Finally, it was David's turn. He sighed and said, "I'm sorry, James, I shouldn't have snatched Sophia from you." I picked my ears and said, "Did your voice get bitten by a dog? You're so quiet, are you chanting for your ancestors?" David was furious. He glanced at Mia, frowned and said louder, "I'm sorry, please forgive my ignorance." I smiled and said, "I remember you like drinking very much, so drink that bottle to make amends to me." Mia couldn't sit still, she said dissatisfiedly, "David is allergic to alcohol." I smiled and said, "You know so well?" "Mia, if it weren't for your face that makes you want to commit suicide if a mosquito stares at you, you would have been promoted a long time ago during those years abroad, right?" They both choked and their faces turned red. I looked at Sophia, and it seemed like she didn't know yet. I added fuel to the fire and said, "Sophia didn't know. I thought you two were good friends and shared everything." Sophia had an ugly look on her face. I raised my eyebrows and looked over. A circle of people were sitting in a row, and no one dared to say a word. I ate 2 bites of the food and said, "Damn, it's so disgusting. You guys try to fool me with this garbage." I stood up and said, "The alley outside is a good place to apologize. You guys stand in a line and bow to me to express your sincerity." A few people winked at each other and followed me out. After we came out, David was the first to attack. He shouted, "You bastard, what are you so arrogant about? I will teach you a lesson for them today." However, I ignored them. Under their puzzled gazes, I took off my coat and threw it on the surveillance camera. Then, I shook my head left and right, stretched my muscles, and said, "Okay, the dry apology just now is quite boring. The harm didn't fall on you, but you don't know how painful it is. If the severity is not appropriate later, just bear with it." After saying that, without waiting for other people's reactions, I slapped Sophia 3 times and cursed, "You are the best at passing the buck. I wish you have many children and grandchildren, and you won't be able to find who is your biological father." The next second, I rushed to David and slapped him on the cheek. I cursed, "Look at you, you shameless thing. You don't even look like a pig. Let me help you." "Very good, his face is swollen." Emily, who loves to complain the most, I slapped her on the mouth. I laughed and said, "You are the 2 letters between A and D, V and N on the keyboard. You are so nosy. Why don't you go and taste the saltiness when the manure truck passes by the door?" Did Sophia think she didn't tell me about her mess? She climbed up so fast as a public official, all by power and sex transactions. I have collected the materials and sent them to the Discipline Inspection Commission. As she wishes, she should be far away from me soon. She should be happy, hee hee. And Emma, I turned around with my hands behind my back and slapped her fake nose hard, and scolded her, "You have had stomach problems these days and your brain has been pulled out, right? You are not blind, you are a pug biting the moon and don't know how high the sky is or how deep the earth is." I gave her husband a big gift package. I wonder how her husband will teach her a lesson when he finds out that she has been having an affair with her brother for a long time. Finally, Mia, who used the name of a classmate to flirt with me and even dared to make up rumors and frame me, I grabbed her and hit her with 18 consecutive palm strikes. I said, "Listen to my advice. It doesn't matter if your brain is empty, just don't let water in it. Do whatever David tells you to do. With your IQ, you should eat a whale to replenish your brain." Then, I started to attack everyone indiscriminately until they knelt down and begged for mercy, and they dared not to do it again. I clapped my hands and said, "I'm telling you, don't think you can arm wrestle with me just because you have more people. Beating you is the least of my punishment. I have never been liked since I was a child, because I hold grudges. If you slap me, I will not only slap you back, but also punch and kick you. Sometimes, when the law can't solve a problem, I will solve it my way. When I got back, it was already late at night, and the lights were still on in the house. I knew my dad was here again. I went in and took off my clothes. I sat opposite him and was silent for a moment. He said, "Don't worry, I will take care of the follow-up matters for you. My son has been humiliated, and I will not let it go." I didn't say anything, but crossed my legs and played with my phone. He also felt embarrassed inside. "Dad doesn't have much wish, I just hope you can be happy and healthy." I said, "Dad, if I don't do these, do you think I will grow up healthily?" I looked up and stared into his eyes and said, "Before I was 5 years old, I had a family and parents, but you insisted on starting a business, gave up your stable life, and left me alone in my hometown. Do you know how I got through that time? Some people in school scolded me for being born by my parents but not raised by them. After school, after finishing my homework, I had to wash rice and steam rice, take a bath and cut vegetables, and take care of my younger brothers and sisters. My aunt was weird every day, and my uncle would never stand up and say a word. Not a penny of the living expenses you gave me ever reached me. Once, I saw others eating snacks and drooled. Do you know how ashamed I was at that time? As I spoke, I sneered, "After I entered junior high school, you achieved some success and took me to the big city. Do you know what kind of life I lived in school? I was laughed at, bullied, and bullied. There were always scars on my arms and thighs. I didn't dare to show them to you, because even if I was beaten, I didn't want to go back to being alone. I wanted my parents. So, I tried to make myself stronger. I learned Taekwondo, Sanda, and learned to curse with gangsters. I didn't want to bully others. I was just protecting myself. I didn't want my parents to worry about me. I wanted a complete family. The so-called aristocratic school you made me go to is nothing more than a miniature dark society. I finally have the ability to punch back. What are you talking about? You told me not to cause trouble. I was so young and didn't learn well. I learned to fight like others. Have you ever asked me why I did this? Then you felt ashamed and didn't come to the parents' meeting, and you told Mom not to come. That day was the first time Mom had attended a parents' meeting for me in 3 years. Do you know how happy I was? But I didn't even see her for the last time. You lied to me and said Mom was on a business trip, and you told me she wasn't there until after I took the high school entrance exam. How can I forgive you? He didn't speak for a long time, his face was full of tears. I wiped the tears from my face, sniffed and said, "Dad, we all need time to get over it." I stood up and was about to go upstairs, and heard his old voice, "But James, Dad will always love you and will always stand by you. Dad will try his best to make it up to you in the future." I didn't answer him. When I was about to go upstairs, I saw Olivia next to the pillar. I didn't know how much she heard, but it didn't matter. She knew about my situation. I looked away, went upstairs, looked at the photo of the three of us on the bedside table, and cried out. I am merciless and ruthless, but I am also a child who will never grow up in my parents' eyes. If allowed, who would not want a peaceful life? The next second, my phone vibrated. I took it out and it was a message from Olivia. She said, "Do you want to open the door and live in my sister's arms?" I said speechlessly, "Don't do that." But I still want to thank her. If it weren't for Olivia during those years in junior high and high school, I don't know if I could have become the powerful James the first am today. Olivia asked again, "We said before that we would be together at 30 without starting a family. You are a real man, you won't cheat, right?" I frowned and said, "There are still 3 years to go, wait." Olivia replied, "Then I will wait for you to marry me." Olivia was really crazy. I took out my graduation photo from high school. Olivia was standing next to me. She made a yeah gesture to the camera, and I smiled stupidly. There was a message from her in the yearbook, which read, "No matter where you fly, I will wait for you there." And I left a message, "I don't need anyone to wait for me, because I will fly higher and higher." I think, well, let's talk about the future later. Olivia Extra. James is different from the rest of us. He has a pair of stubborn eyes and a sense of pride in his bones. More than half of this class were promoted from the original primary school. They formed cliques and despised the poor and loved the rich. They were exposed to these things at a young age. When he came, everyone was very curious about him, especially when they knew he was from the countryside. I sat behind him and always saw him sitting straight, like a wolf cub ready to pounce. He seemed to be trying his best to fit in, until he got first place in the first test. After the break that day, I found his arms were bruised. Later I heard that he was isolated by the previous first place in the class and started to bully him. I recalled that man, his last name seemed to be Bai, and he was dressed politely. These things are very common in this school. You can't stand me and I can't stand you among the rich. I was worried about him, but he was very calm, not like a 12-year-old. If it were someone else, they would have told the teacher and their parents and cried. But he still sat up straight and got the first place in every exam. One day, I went to the bathroom and happened to see him being attacked. When the fist was about to fall, I saw him grab the man's hand and hit him back. Everyone present was shocked, but there were too many people and James was too weak to do it alone. I helped him and called the teacher. I was afraid of being isolated before and didn't dare to intervene in these things, but seeing him being beaten, my heart was clenched. James stood up by the wall and said thank you to me. When I was about to say something, he looked at me and said, "Don't mind my business in the future, or they might retaliate against you. I will become stronger on my own." I looked at his clear eyes, and for some reason, my heart beat very fast. Later, when I was in a cram school, I saw him learning Sanda. His hard eyes were full of ruthlessness. I suddenly remembered the image of him fighting back that day, and it overlapped with the present. This person is very tenacious. Later, he would fight back every time he was bullied. It didn't take him long to go from being pinned down to being able to grab others and beat them left and right. He said, "I never cause trouble, but I'm not afraid of it. If someone respects me 1 foot, I will give him 10 feet. But if someone slaps me, I will punch and kick him back." What a stubborn wolf cub. After that, no one dared to mess with him anymore, and he finally won respect with his own ability. When he entered high school, he became taciturn, and the proud wolf cub seemed to have collapsed all of a sudden. After asking around, I found out that his mother had passed away. He seemed to have no friends, and now he is even more withdrawn, keeps to himself, and has a bad temper, but his grades are still among the best. A newcomer who had never heard of his deeds provoked him, and he broke his hand. One day I asked him, "Why are you not happy?" He said, "I felt like I was born redundant. My parents were not at home, my uncle and aunt didn't like me, and the whole family finally got together, but my parents were too busy. My mother, the only one who loved me, died in a car accident. It seemed that this was the end of the world." Later, I wrote a sentence in the high school graduation yearbook, "No matter where you fly, I will be waiting for you there." He smiled and added, "I don't need anyone to wait for me, because I will fly higher and higher." These are indeed the words that the proud and stubborn James would say. He and I had never been alone until one day when he was drunk. I pretended to joke with him and said, "If we both don't have a partner at the age of 30, why don't we try to be together?" He drunkenly agreed, and I recorded it as evidence so that he couldn't deny it later. I was such a bad woman. However, one day, I saw that he had a girlfriend in his circle of friends. I asked him how he suddenly got a girlfriend. He said, "Other girls are very reserved and slow, but this girl accepted my love as soon as I gave her a gift. I have never seen such a natural girl. Most importantly, James said this girl is very gentle and lovely." I looked up the person. Her name is Sophia, an employee of Olivia's family company, and it seems that I was the one who introduced her to him. When I found out, I wanted to beat myself to death. But suddenly I found out that James seemed to like gentle and lovely people. During that time, I tried my best to change, until one day, the nanny Jean looked at me with a bitter face and asked, "Mizu, are you going to fire me?" I had a question mark on my face, and she said, "I always feel that your smile is very creepy recently." I was practicing gentleness, and they said I was creepy. Forget it, Ms. Olivia, can't learn this, so I just gave up. I thought James was just in a simple relationship, but I didn't expect that a year would pass. Every time, I quietly hid downstairs of his house and watched him come back. I wished that the person walking beside him was me. "I'm waiting for you right behind you. You can see me as long as you turn around." James, I'm so sad. It turns out that there is someone I can't get. I get angry just thinking about it. Then one day, he called me and asked me to check something for him. We hadn't been in touch for a long time since he started dating. I asked him what was wrong, and he said it was nothing. He just felt itchy recently, and he hadn't felt the pleasure of fighting for a long time. I realized that the woman might have betrayed him. I was so angry that someone was cheating on the man I liked. So, I asked someone to find out a lot of things. It was raining that day, and James called me to go find him. I knew he was going to do something. Sitting in the car, he felt very tired, as if he had returned to his student days. I know that sometimes he doesn't want to recall. I wanted to ask Olivia family group to help him, but he stopped me and said, "I'm a very niggardly person, so don't bother me." The fierceness in his eyes made me dream back to when he was learning Taekwondo and Sanda. The James the First love always holds his head high and beats those who oppose him. He said, "If the law can't solve the problem, I will solve it in my way. Doing what I say is my solution." James is so handsome. That day he was wearing a neat black suit, protective gear, and knee pads, and he was fully armed. I was very happy when I saw him blocking the camera and beating those people. I thought he must have let out a sigh of relief. But after he dealt with these things, I saw that he quietly went to the riverside, sat on a chair, and thought for a long time. He must be thinking about his mother. I really wanted to go up and accompany him, but I knew that at this moment, he wanted to be alone. I followed him home and heard what he said. I knew all of it, but when he said those words about being bullied again, I was still so sad that I couldn't breathe. He tore off layer after layer of disguise, took out his softest heart, and yelled at his father, but I understood that he had let it go, wanted to let go of the past and start over. I said to him, "Do you want to open the door and live in my sweet home?" He replied, "Get out. That stubborn wolf cub is back again. Even if he doesn't accept me now, it doesn't matter. The world is round and destined people will eventually get together. So, James, please take good care of me in the rest of my life."